Welcome back to the King's Corner, the place for all things Bethesda. I am the KingFanMan, and this is the KingCast, and I have a very special guest today, someone that, in my opinion, is more knowledgeable than me on gaming and Fallout in general, and it is Vault Girl, a very wonderful person in general, and she's got a great channel, and I'm so pleased and honored to have her on the KingCast today. Welcome, Vault Girl.
Well, thank you for having me again. I always enjoy coming in and joining you.
Absolutely. I do want to ask the people in the chat, tell me if y'all can hear Vault Girl good. If not, we will make that better. We've got a lot to talk about today. Of course, E3 has just been here. And yeah, I do hear that little echo every once in a while. We're going to talk, of course, about Fallout 76. We're going to talk about Steel Rain that's coming July the 7th. We've had some dev interviews, and Jeff Garner had an interview about it. So we're going to go a little bit in depth about Steel Rain. We're going to talk about the expedition to the Pitt and go in depth about not only the new expeditions that were going on, but we're going to talk about the Fallout 3 DLC, the Pitt, to get us set up and prepared to go back to Pittsburgh. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, we're going to talk about Starfield because Mr. Todd Howard himself gave an interview about Starfield and gave some pretty interesting information about Starfield. And then if we have time, we're going to talk about the game Redfall from Arcane Studio in Austin that I'm very excited about as well. And then I want to start right off the bat by promoting Vault Girl's channel, and that's what I'm going to start with. Vault Girl, what have you been doing? What's your channel all about? Just tell the people all about you and your channel.
Well, the biggest thing about my channel is I do not only gaming, but I do cooking as well. Mainly cooking from video game cookbooks, which I really find exciting. We've worked almost all the way through the Fallout cookbook, and sadly we're getting close to the end of it, but I've got a few more tricks up my sleeve with the Fallout cooking universe. So hopefully I can start those soon. But yeah, I play a wide variety of games, not just Fallout, but Fallout and the Elder Scrolls truly are my love.
Yes.
You know, I have a great appreciation for everything that Bethesda has done in their worlds and what they've brought to us as gamers. It's always exciting to step into a Bethesda world.
Bethesda games are very special. There's no doubt. I mean, I love all kinds of games just like you, but I always gravitate back to Bethesda games because they are very, very special. And one thing I'll say about your channel, I love watching all of your stuff. I love watching your gaming content, but I wished I lived closer to you because when you cook, oh my word, I wished I could come over to your house and eat after your videos are done because they look so good. So if you guys are not subscribed to Vault Girl, please do that right now. Please go to her channel and subscribe. I also want to give a endorsement and a shout out to Gold Dragon. He is going to be having a podcast, and Gold Dragon, tell me when it is. Is it going to be right after the KingCast, I believe? But he'll be commenting in just a minute, so I want to promote his podcast that's going to be on in just, I think, 30 minutes after the KingCast. Is that right, Vault Girl? Do you know what time it's going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be right after your podcast ends.
Awesome. So there's Gold Dragon. Y'all go to his channel as well and watch his podcast. So please do those two things. Y'all go to Vault Girl and subscribe. And also, right there, Vault Girl is an awesome moderator on my channel. And she put up Gold Dragon Gaming's channel as well. And y'all go and watch his podcast. Okay, let's jump right in. I'm not going to be able to answer as many questions today because I've got a guest, but I will try to get to your questions and comments. I saw somebody ask, is Fallout 76 worth playing? Absolutely, it's worth playing, yes, and it's getting better all the time, and that's what's wonderful, and we're going to talk about that today. Let's talk about Steel Rain because Steel Rain is coming out very soon. It's coming out July the 7th, and we know a lot more about it. The first thing I do want to ask, have you played it, Vault Girl, in the PTS?
No, I don't bother with PTS, actually.
Okay, good, because I don't want to give away spoilers today. All we're going to talk about is what the devs have talked about, what Jeff Garner's talked about, So there will be slight spoilers, but it's only what you can find online. It's only what the devs have given away with Steel Rain. At E3, of course, we did get a new trailer for Steel Rain. Did you see anything in that trailer? Did the trailer excite you? And does Steel Rain excite you? The second part of course, the Brotherhood of Steel quest line.
It does and it doesn't. And a lot of it is just because I'm not a huge fan of the Brotherhood of Steel. I never have been. You know, I think they played their part on the East Coast, or on the West Coast, I'm sorry. But I think it's time to phase them out of the East Coast, move on to a new faction. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that because the Brotherhood of Steel is like the end-all be-all to a lot of people. But honestly, I want more Enclave.
I do too. I am with you 100%. I am so glad you're on because you're like the Fallout lore master, and I'm giving you that. That's my official title for you, Vault Girl, the Fallout lore master. But of course, you know Roger Maxson was the one that founded the Brotherhood of Steel on the West Coast, and he did it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he did it because of the government's testing on prisoners and military people with the FEV virus. Is that correct?
That is, yeah.
And Maxson actually, some say he murdered, but he actually killed the head scientist that was in charge of all of these experiments. And I can't remember the scientist's name right off the top of my head, but that's what went on the West Coast, and that's how the Brotherhood of Steel started. Because he was in the U.S. Army, I believe he was a captain in the U.S. Army, and yes, he broke out of the Army because of what the government was doing. Now that's important because in Steel Rain, and we know this, we have a question of who's going to lead the Brotherhood of Steel in Appalachia. Is it going to be Romani or is it going to be Shin? And they have two different outlooks on the Brotherhood of Steel.
And I kind of lean more towards the girl, Romani, right? I kind of lean more towards her only because she seems to mirror the Lions Brotherhood of Steel outlook, which I liked. But once they switched over to Fallout 4 and back into the Maxson's version of it, I really just kind of pulled away from the love of the Brotherhood of Steel.
The Brotherhood. Now, if we would, and because some people here have not played Fallout 3, and some haven't even played Fallout 4, and they may not understand what you're talking about with the Lions and the Maxsons ideology, but it's two totally different ideologies with the Brotherhood of Steel. And if you've played Fallout 3, which the Brotherhood is the good guys, and you play Fallout 4, which the Brotherhood's not really good, kind of explain the difference there and who Lions is and who Maxson is.
Elder Lions was more about helping the people of the Wasteland. And there's actually two factions in Fallout 3. You have the Brotherhood of Steel, and then you have the Brotherhood of Steel Outcasts. The Outcasts are trying to stick true to the Maxson frame of mind, which is, you know, isolationists and hoarding technology for themselves.
Which is kind of what they were doing in Fallout 4, correct?
Oh, very much
yes.
So.
Okay.
And kind of the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4 reminds me a lot of the Enclave from Fallout 2, I believe it was, where you go to the tanker and you find out that they want to release the FEV to everyone, to kill everyone in the Wasteland, though only the Enclave survives, the pure blood, I guess you would say. And I kind of get that vibe a little bit from the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4, just because they want to wipe out the people in the Wasteland because they didn't think that they're fit to be there.
They think they're better than everybody. It's almost that kind of mentality, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well,
you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the tagline at the end of the trailer for the Steel Rain is "You choose justice or duty," and I'm not sure which one goes to which. But again, I see exactly the way you see it. Romani is more let's help the people, and Shin is more that rigid Maxson, the way the Brotherhood was founded.
Oh, definitely. And, I think Romani is there. She wants to rebuild and lift the people up, where he wants to kind of subvert them, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Right.
And kind of, but he also doesn't want to bring anyone into the fold either. He just kind of wants to let them do their own thing, and if they get wiped out, they get wiped out. Oh well.
Right.
And that's not the way to rebuild Appalachia.
Absolutely. Now, the one thing that I didn't agree with Romani on at the end of the last, the Brotherhood of Steel, the first Brotherhood of Steel was, and maybe you can explain it, is where she cut off the communication with the West Coast. And that's because she has a different ideology, I'm guessing. But she did.
Oh,
yeah, she did. She wanted to cut off contact with the elders of the West Coast, which would be Maxon, I'm imagining.
At that time in history, yes, it would be. 25 years after the bombs fell, 26 years. Yeah, definitely. Maxon would still be alive.
Yeah. So that's really the choice that we're going to face here in the Steel Reign is, do we want the Maxon line? Do we want Fallout 4, Fallout 1 type Brotherhood of Steel, or do we want Fallout 3 type?
I guess that's how you want to shape your form of Appalachia, though.
Exactly. The devs, Jeff Garner and Mark Tucker, that's his name, I had it written down. They tell us that there are 2 new factions that are coming in through Steel Reign. One is the Hellcat Mercenaries. They didn't tell us anything about them, but we know that they are coming. And then another one is, they've already been introduced in 76, but it's the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. We're going to learn more about the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. We also are going to find some new locations, Uncanny Caverns. We're going to get to see some different places in Uncanny Caverns, some new places in Harper's Ferry, and of course we get to finally search Vault 96. I'm so excited to search around Vault 96, that frozen vault.
Yeah, I've really thought that they needed to open up those other vaults in the game. It's about time they put something in them.
Absolutely. And learn more of the lore behind them as well.
Absolutely.
They also told us that there are going to be, of course, new weapons, new outfits, new power armor, even a cryo bed for our camp we're going to get. So that's some neat things that they told us. There's also more things coming with the update. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it before we go to expeditions. Legendary crafting is coming. Are you excited about legendary crafting coming to Fallout 76?
Yes and no. It just all depends on how much you can kind of manipulate to get what you want. Kind of like with the armor from the Secret Service armor.
Right.
You can just there and keep crafting and crafting until you get exactly what you want. It just all depends on what effects they're going to allow you to have.
Yeah, I am glad that you're going to get to craft the kind of weapon you want, and like you said, you can craft over and over and over until you get the one you want. Except for it's going to take legendary cores now. That's a new thing that they're introducing into the game, and you're going to, I believe, get those through events. One other thing they're adding in the new update that's coming is a new vendor that's actually going to be selling gold bullion plans, and she's going to move around. She's going to be at Crater, Foundation, and at Atlas. So that's another neat thing. So I'm excited for the update that's coming July 7th. More content coming to Fallout 76 is always good. Is there anything you want to add about Steel Reign before we move on to the expeditions?
No, not really. I think we've pretty much covered it all.
Well, thank you for going into that lore. I'm going to go back and watch all this and listen to all that you said about Maxon and all that. And speaking of Fallout lore, we're going to really talk Fallout lore now, because we get to go back to Pittsburgh. We get to go back to the Pitt. They showed us that at E3. Expeditions are coming, and we'll talk in a minute what you think expeditions might be. But let's go backwards in time and remind everybody what the Pitt is. Of course, it was a DLC in Fallout 3. And the little I remember about the DLC is that in Pittsburgh, people were enslaved to work, and they were terribly sick, and many of them were getting an awful mutation. I mean, an awful mutation, and you were looking for a cure. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can tell us more about the Pitt.
Yeah, the Pitt, people that were very, very sick turned into something called a trog, I believe it was.
A troglodyte. Yeah, troglodytes. Yeah.
And you were sent, or you had to pretend to be a slave to kind of sneak in there and help rescue the slaves. But you find out through it all that you're going to be kidnapping a baby because the baby's supposed to be the cure. Which, it's kind of iffy on that. Still, they never actually find anything. Every time you go back to the Pit after you complete it, it's, we're still working on it, depending on who you side with there.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great little DLC. Not one of my favorites by far, but definitely a great one to play through.
It's a lot of fun. It's a very eerie one. It has a special vibe. Let me stop for just a minute. Tamar, thank you so much for the super chat. All those super chats mean so much. He says, Jeff Gardner follows me on Twitter for some reason. He follows me on Twitter for some reason too. I don't know why. And keep being awesome. Thank you, sir. Well, I know why he follows you, because you do an awesome job on Twitter with your amazing, amazing information. By the way, if y'all do not follow Tamar on Twitter, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, do, because he gives all kinds of great game information on Twitter. Do you think when Starfield releases, will Microsoft issue sales figures? I believe we will know sales figures, and we will talk about that in just a minute, because we're going to go into Starfield, and I'm interested if it being exclusive and it being Game Pass day one, how that is going to affect the sales figures, and we'll talk about that. I'll go ahead and ask, we're not done with expeditions yet, but how do you think those two things are going to affect Starfield sales figures, it being Xbox exclusive and Game Pass day one? Is it going to hurt Starfield sales figures bad?
I think it'll hurt him bad, but I think it's going to be a bit slower than what they would normally see, since they're not going to have PlayStation revenue coming in. But you're still going to get PC as well as Xbox sales. And then, because a lot of people don't have Game Pass. I only pay for it when I'm actually using my Xbox. So if you don't have an active subscription, you don't have access to those games. So a lot of people are still going to go and buy them. I don't think it's going to hurt them all that much.
I agree. And I said recently on the podcast I did about the Creation 2 engine, I believe that Starfield, if it's the game that I think it's going to be, I think it's going to grow in popularity. It being a new IP, I think if it's going to be like I say, the game I think it's going to be, if it's going to be a great game, it's going to get bigger and bigger. It's not going to be like a Fallout 4 launch that was just humongous. It's going to grow. Does that make sense? The word's going to get out what a great game it is, and I think it'll grow and grow. But we'll get into that in just a minute. So we're going back to the Pit. We're going back into this place where these terrible mutations, the disease was that turned people into the troglodytes or the trogs. First question is, do you think that's already going on in Pittsburgh when we go, or is that something that happened? Because obviously we're going way sooner than the DLC in Fallout 3. Do you think we'll see any of the trogs? Do you think they'll bring any of that into the expeditions?
I don't know how they would. At 25 years, I think that's awful soon to be seeing them.
I agree.
But with Bethesda bringing in other creatures from the past Fallouts, like the little, all of those little space alien looking things, I forget what they're called. The ones that explode all over you.
Yeah, I just went blank, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they did try to bring them in at some point.
Or maybe they show just the start of it. Maybe people are just starting to get sick. That would be something. I hesitate to give you my idea of the expeditions before I ask you yours, but I will. I think the expeditions obviously are going to be Brotherhood of Steel based because it appears that way from the trailer. But I think it's going to be more of and I hate to use this because it probably will turn people off. It's going to be more like the daily ops. It's going to be a smaller type. It's not going to be a place where you go and explore, except for the good thing is Jeff Garner said it's going to be story driven. So that's good. But what do you think the expeditions are going to be? How entailed is it going to be? How long do we get to stay in the pit? What do you think? What is it going to be?
I have given them a lot of thought, and I do think they're going to be kind of like the things that we're doing now with
the daily ops.
Yeah, daily ops. Although I would really like for them to be like a whole new area that we could stay and explore, even if it's only for a short amount of time. Say they give us an hour or two to explore a small little area, but we can't stay.
Right.
Because there's something we have to accomplish without it being that rush that the daily ops are. Because, with those, you're trying to get in there and get out of
your time.
Right. Reward. I want to be able to explore. When they said that we were going to Appalachia, my very first thought was, we are so close to Pittsburgh.
Really?
I hope at one point they take us back to the pit.
See, my thought was we're so close to Washington, D.C. So, and of course, I think that will probably be our next expedition because we've actually seen concept art of Washington, D.C. So I think it'll be soon anyway that we go to Washington.
More than likely, but, literally from Grafton or Morgantown, you're anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours away from Pittsburgh.
Wow.
A lot closer than Washington, D.C.
Wow. And it does appear from the trailer that we are going to be taking a vertibird there. We've wondered, how are we going to get there? We're going to get there by train. How are we going to get there? But it appears we're going to be flying the vertibird to Pittsburgh, which makes sense. I mean, kind of like we took the boat in Far Harbor. You'll get on the vertibot and go.
It's also right over the line from Morgantown in the real world. So it's like, man, you could walk that.
You could just walk right across.
Yeah.
Crowley says, "Hey there, Your Highness." Thank you. I apologize. I'm not reading all the comments today. I normally do, but if you're just joining the podcast, I have a wonderful special guest on Vault Girl today. She is a wealth of gaming information. So if you have not subscribed to Vault Girl, and Vault Girl, if you don't mind, would you put up your link to your channel? Please go subscribe to her. She is wonderful in gaming content and cooking content as well. And she cooks out of the Fallout book and the Skyrim book as well. So y'all please go check her out. I wonder what the story is going to be in the expeditions. If they're story driven, I wonder what the story is going to be. Is it going to be connected to Appalachia, or is it going to be connected to, say, the Fallout 3, DLC type stuff?
I don't know how it could be connected to Fallout 3 because technically this is happening before.
Yeah, way before
Fallout 3. So they might try and tie it in, but I would think at that point that Pittsburgh was still highly irradiated and barely livable. So.
And that's why I was wondering if you might actually see some of the disease that we actually see in Fallout 3, at least starting. Nukem says 200 years. How long is it between Fallout 76 and Fallout 3 exactly? Do you know off the top of your head?
Fallout 3 is 200 years after the war. Fallout New Vegas is 207, and Fallout 4 is 210.
There you go. Hey, Eli, what's going on? Good to see you. I told y'all that Vault Girl would know it. She is the lore master. So I am so looking forward to it. Let's see. Anything else you want to add about the expeditions? Because we got Starfield to talk about, and we're almost halfway through the podcast. These podcasts go so fast.
They do. Other than I'm very, very excited for them.
I am too. Sadly, they're not coming until next year, but it's something great to wait for. Starfield, of course, we got the trailer at E3. We also got even better video from the Washington Post, which is called Into the Starfield. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to watch it because it actually gives you more information than the trailer does. And then Todd Howard did an interview with the Washington Post, and most of what we're going to talk about is off of that video and off of that interview with the Washington Post. And I'm going to get Vault Girl's opinion and ideas off this. First, Todd Howard said that it is going to be Skyrim in space, which is great news to us, and it's going to be a world that is as big as Star Wars. Now that was Todd Howard's words about Starfield, and he said they've actually, of course, it's 300 years into the future, or and actually there's dates, 2310, 2312. There's actual dates that show up in the spaceship that you can see, so we actually know when it is. And Todd Howard said they actually as devs sit there and figured out what went on throughout those 300 years in their universe. So I'm
just wondering how it's diverging, because Fallout diverges from the real world at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if the Starfield universe diverges from real world history at a certain point, which I think would be really cool if they did it that way.
I agree.
I also thought it was interesting that they are releasing Starfield on Skyrim Day.
Yes.
So Skyrim released 11/11/11.
And this is 11/11/22.
Yeah, 11 years later, we are going to a whole new universe.
That is wild. But it blows my mind, and I love that point that you gave. But they have built the whole lore of this universe from whenever it is, either 2021 or whenever the Divergent date was, all the way for 300 years. And they've figured out everything in this. And of course, you think about the Elder Scrolls, which is a universe they made. Fallout, they didn't. They inherited Fallout. But they are great at building universes. So I cannot wait to learn about the universe of Starfield. Now, some of the things we know about that we've had questions about. Number one, is there going to be aliens in Starfield? We know that there are, because in that Into the Starfield video, there's actually a picture where the protagonist is coming up against, it looks like 3 big crab-looking lobster things, which obviously are not human. So there's going to be aliens. Now, I don't know if there's I believe there's probably going to be aliens we can talk to as well. But it's exciting to know that we're not just going to go to empty planets.
Oh, definitely. And I think it would be a disservice to a space game not to have aliens. I'm sure there's not people out in the universe.
Well, when Todd first talked about it, he kind of talked about a realistic space game, and I think that was how the spaceship worked and all that. But yet we're kind of seeing more fantasy in with it, and I like that mixture with the realism and the fantasy.
Well, even if you look at a game like Mass Effect, some of the alien races look almost human.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot that are very alien. So I think that would make a lot of sense for Starfield to kind of follow in that footstep.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I'm not saying that it's going to be like Mass Effect by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's going to be its own entity, which, I'm very excited to get in and explore the lore and the worlds that they've created for us.
In the trailer, it said 25 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
definitely.
I believe there's a little bit more to that than just the studio, because and I'm sure you know of this. Back in 1995, Bethesda was making a game called The 10th Planet. And it's really interesting if you, and of course, I've slowed down the trailer and looked at every little piece of it. But if you slow down the trailer inside the spaceship and you look at all the little patches that are up on or the stickers, I think they are, up on the wall, one of the stickers on the wall says The 10th Planet. And you can actually go on the internet and find the trailer to The 10th Planet. And this was, like I said, a Bethesda game. They already had a trailer. They were making it with another company, and I've got it written down here somewhere. Hold on. It was Centropolis. I've never heard of them. Centropolis. And then in 1997, so they made it for 2 or 3 years, Centropolis backed out of the game, and of course, so it never came to be. But I'm saying all that to say, in the trailer to The 10th Planet, you can actually see the same type ship that you saw in the original Starfield trailer. So I'm wondering how much of the story, how much of the stuff from The 10th Planet is in Starfield.
Well, I think it would make a lot of sense for them to keep some of that stuff that they had already created. I'm sure Todd did not throw his notes away.
No.
And whatever they had already worked on. So, because he's always looking to the future. If you know anything about a Bethesda game, they always hide a snippet of the future game somewhere in it.
Yes.
Even all the way back to Morrowind. You can go and read one of the Tales of Baron Zaya, and it talks about Riften. It's spelled different, but it talks about the Seaston and Riften. And that's in Morrowind. That's 2 games before, it's there. And
I knew in Fallout 3 you had the scents, of course, that come in Fallout 4. So yeah, I knew that they always put a little tease in there. And of course, in Fallout 76, you have the 2 little robots that are talking about the stars, which is neat. We all picked up on that. Also in that concept art, which really excited me, was, of course, there's all different kinds of environments. You've got ice, you've got desert, you've got jungle, but there are cities, huge cities, which are obviously not on Earth, not on our planet. So these are alien cities somewhere. Now, I have a theory, okay, and just hear me out and see what you think about this. But in the trailer, this is what it says. It says, "You have found the secret, the key to unlocking everything, humanity's final journey." So we as the protagonist have found something that is going to unlock everything, and I believe it is a way to travel past our universe, travel past the 10th planet, if you will. And I believe that's probably what you see in that opening Starfield trailer, that teaser trailer we got 2 years ago or 3 years ago, however long it's been now. Yeah. So I believe all these cities that we're seeing in this art form, even though we start in our universe, are not in our universe. We actually go to another Starfield, to another universe. Does that sound plausible to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've got to go somewhere, right? I just wonder what is making us leave Earth that we have to go and explore all these new areas. What's so tragic that's happened?
Yeah, what's the story?
Right.
I do find it interesting and great that Todd Howard said that our character is going to be customizable, of course, but we're going to actually be able to create his or her background. Now, he didn't go into detail, but I'm hoping that it don't have a fully established background like we had in Fallout 4. I like more of Fallout 76, where you know nothing about your character. You can make you who you want to be.
Right. And that's kind of how they are with the Elder Scrolls.
Yes.
You're
a prisoner. That's it. Yeah.
But you can shape that, what you did to get in prison is totally up to you.
Yes.
You know, and that's the form of a good role-playing game.
Absolutely. And
The thing that Fallout is not, but it does tend to have a set story.
right.
You know, in Fallout 3, you
Mhm.
came out of the vault. You were raised in the vault. Fallout 1, you were raised in a vault. Fallout 2, you were a descendant from the guy who was raised in the
Who
vault.
was raised in the vault? Yes. This is great, and I really want you to speak to this and tell me what you think it means. He said they're going back to their roots and more hardcore RPG elements. Now, we all know that Fallout 4 and Skyrim, those two especially, were more watered down RPGs, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. Say maybe more back towards Morrowind.
Yes. Which, if you haven't played Morrowind, it's a lot harder to play than Skyrim, say.
Oh, Morrowind is amazing.
But give some specifics, if you will. What does he mean? And I think Fallout 76 is more hardcore RPG than Fallout 4 or and this is just me and my opinion. I really believe that's why some people that's one of the reasons some people had a really hard time with Fallout 76, because it's hard. It's harder than Fallout 4. You can't just sit down and play it. There's all this stuff you got to do. But
there's definitely a bit more of a dice roll to 76 than there is Fallout 4. And that's how Morrowind is. It's very much a dice roll on whether you're going to hit somebody or not. Because when you start the game, you can't hit a blade of grass.
No.
You know. But as you get better and level up and stuff, that's when you start getting better dice rolls.
And it feels so much more rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. But
again, just my opinion, Fallout 4, everybody's character winds up the same in the end.
Absolutely.
And of course they're Superman in the end within Fallout 4. But can you give some specifics about RPG elements that you think they might bring into Starfield?
I think they definitely need to get away from being Superman at the end of the game. Don't let us have all the perks. Make it a hard choice to decide which perks are going to fit the character build that we've got. They've kind of done that in 70s with the cards.
Yes.
But then you can still swap those out and become whoever you want to be at the drop of the hat. In Morrowind, you can't. You know, you make that build, and that's kind of where you're
stuck with it. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can change a bit here and there, but not completely change your character 100%. And I think that's where they need to go with Starfield. Don't make us have that big perk chart like they do in Fallout 4, where eventually, you know, you've earned them all. You know,
do you
make it to where it's get locked out of?
Do you think, now I know there's some of us that's going to love that because we love RPGs or real RPGs, but do you think that's going to hurt the mainstream gamer liking Starfield? Do you think it's going to turn people off? Because it will make the game harder. Yeah,
but so are Dark Souls games.
Yes, that's true.
And they have a huge popularity. A lot of people love those games. Personally, for me, they are hard as sin. And
amen.
I do it.
Amen.
But, you know, in Kingdom Come Deliverance, that is a beautiful game that, to me, has horrible combat. You know, it's a game I would love to play all the way to the end.
I love Kingdom Come Deliverance. Yeah.
But once I get surrounded by 2-3 people, I am just toast.
You're
You can find me under the grass.
But think about it. That's what makes it feel real. If you're out in the world and you're surrounded by 4 people, are you really going to make it normally? I mean, no matter how good you are with the sword, if you got 4 people around you, you're probably not going to make it. So they made that very realistic. I love Kingdom Come Deliverance. I really like that game. I think it got way too hard of a people talked about it too bad. I like that game. Again, it is verified. There's multiple planets, multiple cities, multiple different environments. And Todd Howard said the main thing that he wants, and of course I think this is the best thing that Bethesda does, is exploration. So I wonder just how much, just how big, because we've heard, Starfield's going to be big. How big is Starfield going to be?
I would have to say it's probably going to be bigger than Oblivion. Now, I know a lot of people thought Skyrim was big, but I always thought that Oblivion was a lot bigger.
I agree.
Because there was so many areas that you went to that you never even had to go. I mean, I spent 500 hours in Oblivion just to get through my first playthrough of it. And that was going through every single alien ruin and everything. Definitely it's got to be bigger than that.
I've still not done everything in Oblivion. I know I haven't. And I've got hours and hours and hours in it. Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, one thing that Todd did say in that interview, and this excites me, is the cities are going to be bigger than anything BGS has ever made. Now, I guess one downfall that people say about Skyrim is the cities are kind of small. You look at Whiterun and some of them. So I'm going to be excited to see bigger cities. We thought we were going to get that with Cyberpunk, but they are big and they do have a lot of people, but you can't do much with the people. So I'm excited to see Bethesda do a bigger city with more NPCs and more stuff to do.
Yeah, and I definitely think the new generation of hardware that we have now can handle more people on the screen at a time. And Absolutely. I think a lot of that was just the failing of the Fallout 4 generation. It could only handle so much to render.
I agree. Well, that's Todd Howard has said that we finally have the technology to do what we've wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So, and another thing, obviously, there's going to be, if you call a spaceship a vehicle, there's going to be vehicles in a BGS game. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a spaceship. So, and according to, and I never talk about leaks, but this one came from a Bethesda employee, and admitted Bethesda employee. It was his art that was supposed to go on the header, but there were multiple different kinds of spaceships. It appears that are going to be available. That's exciting to me.
Do you think we'll get to build our own spaceship?
I believe they will be moddable, and I believe that's where the settlement building will come in. Now, I don't know if we'll probably get to build settlements too on planets, but yes, I do believe that the spaceships will be expandable, will be changeable, customizable, however you want to put it, and that's super exciting.
Definitely.
And
like a lot of people, I did like the settlement building.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I do too.
As long as I don't have somebody telling me there's a planet that needs my help.
Preston is going to be there. There is another planet that needs your help. A very quick question, and this is off the subject, but of course, Obsidian came out with the Outer Worlds, and we just saw a trailer for the Outer Worlds 2. I was just wondering, did you play the Outer Worlds, and are you excited for the Outer Worlds 2?
I did play the Outer World, and I liked it, but I don't know. I'm not ever excited to play the second one.
I was just okay with it. I honestly, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't woohoo. In fact, I quickly went back to Fallout. I went back to 76. It was so it didn't excite me. In fact, the DLC that came out for it, I didn't get it. So.
I played Peril and Gorgon, but I not got the last one.
Was it any good?
It was okay. It just felt like it dragged on and on and on, and I couldn't wait for it to be over by the time I finished.
We can't stop talking about Starfield without mentioning it is in a brand new engine, the Creation 2 engine. I did a whole podcast on that with Joey Caps. If y'all hadn't seen it, go watch it, please. It needs some more views. But I'm super excited because, like we were just talking about, the technology has changed. Bethesda now has much more technology, and it's so important to point out that the trailer that we saw is not a cinematic trailer. It's actually in-engine footage.
Yeah, it was, which is very exciting. And you could still tell that it was a Bethesda game just from the shape of the set pieces. It's like that's instantly recognizable as a Bethesda game.
Absolutely. Hey, Tamar, thank you, man. Thank you so much for the huge super chat, man. You're awesome. He says, have you ever thought about finishing the Bethesda history thing you started? Vault Girl asked me about that too. She's asked me about that a couple of times. In fact, I just thought about that the other day. Yes, I am going to finish that. He says, I can send you what I have. I'm still waiting for a reply from more than 15 ex-Bethesda employees and from Christopher Weaver himself and Julian LaFay. Okay. Yes, I do want to finish that. I think, didn't I stop right at Arena? Right past Arena. Anyway, I stopped right after Todd Howard got there. But yes, I do want to finish that. The only reason I haven't finished it is, quite honestly, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it didn't get many views. But yes, I am going to. It'll probably be a 2 more parter because Bethesda has quite a history. But yes, I am going to, and thank you so much again for the super chat. And Vault Girl just put a link to the podcast that me and Joe did. Thank you for doing that, Vault Girl. From what I understand about the engine, and you may know more about this than I do, everything is new with the Creation 2 engine except for their editor. They kept their editor because they're so used to their editor. But the good news is you actually see one of the devs using the creation kit in that Into the Starfield. So it looks like mods are going to be a part of Starfield, at least in the future.
Oh, more than likely, because they're always such a big supporter of the modding community. I mean, to this day, Morrowind still has a huge modding community. In fact, there's been a few people that were hired because of the mods they made. They got hired by Bethesda just because of the mods they made in Morrowind. I forget the guy's name, but I watched an interview Todd Howard did on it.
And I hate to say it like this, but games like Morrowind and even Oblivion would probably be dead without mods.
Oh, absolutely.
And Skyrim would not be the game it is without mods. So I think mods are absolutely necessary. Anything else you want to say about Starfield? I mean, I can't tell you how excited I am for Starfield, but is there anything you wanted to cover that we didn't cover about Starfield?
We got it all. Just looking forward to 11/11/22.
11/11/22. Another one, just like Expeditions, we've got to wait a year for, but that's all right. One more that we have to wait a year for that I want to talk to you about, and I'm excited about this one too. Not quite as excited, but it's the game Redfall. It was under codename Omen, and I actually talked about it on the KingCast before E3. I said that Arcane Austin was going to do a vampire game named Omen, and I was just a little bit wrong. It was codenamed Omen, but the name of it is Redfall because it takes place in Redfall, Massachusetts. And I can say that right because my parents actually lived there for a little bit. My dad was stationed in Fort Bragg, Massachusetts. But the cool thing about this game is not only that it's a vampire game, it is an open world and up to a 4-player co-op game. Now, that sounds really interesting, and I'm going to turn it over to you. What did you think about the Redfall trailer and what you've seen from Redfall?
I'm actually really intrigued with that. I mean, zombie games are out there aplenty, but like a vampire game that essentially takes on the zombie role, that's kind of cool. Yes. I was actually really excited after I watched the trailer. So, I love co-op games. I think they're great, like getting in there and playing with my friends. And this one, I think it's going to be very different. So, yeah, definitely excited for it. But my biggest thing wasn't Redfall the code name for Elder Scrolls 6, or didn't they, like a couple people reported on Redfall being
People thought that Redfall was Elder Scrolls 6
Okay.
because Redfall was trademarked, and Skullsy, Camelworks, a bunch of them jumped on and said that's going to be the name of the Elder Scrolls 6. By the way, I will say this, and I put it on Twitter. In the Starfield trailer, there is actually an Elder Scrolls 6 Easter egg. If y'all are wondering where the Elder Scrolls 6 is, if you're still wondering, you don't have to, because they actually put a map of High Rock and where are the Red Guards from? I went blank. Right under High Rock. Anyway, the two places there, when they're in the spaceship, right on the console, it's scribed into the console, and I zoomed in on it in a picture on Twitter, but there's been several people that's posted it, but it's a map of those two regions. So the place where the Bretons come from, the place where the Red Guards come from, that's where everybody believes, and of course now that looks like Bethesda is confirming that the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. So that is so cool. That what? Come on, y'all. Y'all know where the Red Guards are from. I am just so blank.
I can't think of it right now. Too much information putting in my head.
Hammerfell. Thank you, Jacob. Hammerfell. I didn't mean to yell that, but yes, Hammerfell. Hammerfell. Back on the Redfall for just a minute. I love arcane games. I love Dishonored. And I actually love Prey even better than Dishonored. And I'm talking about Arcane Austin. Arcane in France is a little bit different, but they're the ones that are doing Deathloop. And Arcane Austin is the ones that are doing Redfall. And you can actually kind of see Dishonored and Prey's DNA in Redfall. You can see some of that, the way they move, some of the characteristics that the characters do. So if you've liked any of Dishonored or anything like that, you're probably going to like Redfall. And another thing I will add, of course, I was never a multiplayer guy until 76. I like co-op games better than multiplayer. So this one does excite me. Like you said, you can play with your friends. You can pick who you want to play with instead of just going on to a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I do like co-op a lot because of multiplayer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One more time, if you've just joined us, hopefully you didn't just join us because we're running out of time already. We've got about 8 minutes left in the podcast. I am on with the Fallout lore master and wonderful person, Vault Girl. If you have not subscribed to Vault Girl, please do so. She has wonderful gaming content and cooking content as well. And it's been such an honor to have her on today. What are you doing right now on your channel, Vault Girl? Is there anything that you want to talk about that you're doing right now on your channel?
Right now, we just started Red Dead Redemption 2. It's interesting.
Have you played it before, or is this you just starting it?
It's all new.
Oh, okay.
I'm a perfect cowgirl. I'll say that. I admit it.
Well, let me give you one piece of advice on it. It starts really, really slow.
Oh yeah, it does.
It does. So hang on because it gets a lot better. I mean, it's really a linear game for the first, I don't know, but it'll open up. So interesting. If you love that game, go to Vault Girl's channel and check that out. I've also seen you playing Persona. Is that one that you're playing?
I was playing Persona last time I was on the podcast. We're finally within eye shot of the finish line on that game. It's been a long journey, but I think Near Replicant's going to be coming to the channel fairly soon. Playing through Mass Effect Legendary Edition right now.
Oh, wonderful!
Doing a little bit of Great Friend. Plus, I got a few other games coming. Definitely some of the new ones that are going to be coming out this summer.
That's what I love about your channel. It has such a variety, and it's so wonderful to just go over there and relax and watch some wonderful gaming content. And
definitely going to be bringing Skyrim back.
Oh, wonderful!
popular opinion, decided that I should run the games.
Awesome. In this last 6 minutes, if you have questions for me or for Vault Girl, since I've avoided the chat, I apologize today. If you have questions, we're going to answer your questions now. I'll try to do that. So put them up on the board. Maybe it's something we've already talked about or something else. We'll keep talking, but I will look at the chat. If you have any questions for the last part of the podcast, just go on and throw them up. There's my Mississippi Queen. Hey, Miss Queen. We are separated. Well, I shouldn't say we're separated. That just sounds terrible. I'm at my mother's and she's at home. So we're apart right now, but it's good to see her on the chat. Was there anything else as we're waiting on questions from E3 that you really like? One game I have to mention, wasn't it the Evil Dead? Is it
the Evil Dead?
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get that and play that because it actually has Bruce Campbell doing the voice in the game. So that just looks really cool to me. But was there anything from E3 that just caught your eye that we haven't talked about?
Absolutely. For the most part, E3 was kind of disappointing game-wise for me, but there were several games in the Microsoft showcase that I got very excited for. One of those is A Plague Tale 2. If you have not played the first game, oh my goodness, you need to play it. It's an amazing game. And Psychonauts 2. It's been a long time since we had Psychonauts 1 back in, late 90s, early 2000s, I could say, on the 360. It's whenever our 360 was out. But yeah, if you're a huge fan of Psychonauts, it's an amazing little game. Definitely can't say enough about good things about that one. So yeah, definitely Psychonauts 2 will be coming to my channel eventually. And I think other than Starfield, obviously, and the Expeditions to the Pit, those are the biggest things I was excited about. Oh, and Stalkers 2. Kind of Russian Fallout. The first game was pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
When the Expeditions trailer came out, I actually shouted out loud. Okay, Cliffhanger says, what are your thoughts on us maybe visiting the Capitol Wasteland and maybe even a visit with Mr. House? Going to Washington, D.C. is an absolute yes. There's no doubt we're going to go to Washington. In fact, earlier on the podcast, we said that there's actually been art that has leaked from them working on Washington. So they're already, and I'm trying to keep in Arkansas, we put an R when we say wash. So I'm trying to keep that out of Washington. Washington, we will go to Washington, but now Mr. House was in Nevada. So I don't know about going back to New Vegas, it being Obsidian. I don't know if we'd do that or not. What do you think, Vault Girl?
I don't think so. There's it's a touchy subject at Bethesda.
Yeah.
The New Vegas.
But that would really let them own it, though, wouldn't it?
I think it would.
I think
it would. I think if they started tying it in and instead of trying to ignore it.
Trying to avoid it.
Make it less than what it was.
I think so. I think they need to own it. They published it. They still own the game. It was their assets that Obsidian used. I think they need to. I think they need to own the game and bring it into the fold. I do. Cirque says, this is a good question. What is the possibility of the Master making an appearance in the Pit or any other expeditions for that matter via computer uplinking?
I think that's really good idea.
That is an awesome idea. Sir, do you want to be a writer at Bethesda? That's awesome. Seeing some of the writing that goes on there, they need some better writing. That's awesome. Do you want to say anything about the Master, Vault Girl? Of course, he is the bad guy from the original Fallout.
The Master is a truly interesting character.
Yes, if you don't know about the Master, you need to go back and play the original Fallout. Mr. Lewis says, I'm excited about the new Sea of Thieves expansion. I actually saw that. My son saw that. It's got Johnny Depp in it, and it's got
Pirate of the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's all the Pirate of the Caribbean characters. So yeah, it actually looks really, 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 really cool. I watched the whole trailer, and I'm probably going to play it because my son's going to play it, Wolfman. So yes, actually, Mr. Lewis, it's a perfect thing to talk about here. Let's see. He also says, what do you think about 76 adventure mode going full Care Bear and removing PvP? In other words, what do you think about getting rid of nuclear winter? We hadn't talked about that today.
I'm kind of sad about that. I didn't dip into nuclear winter as much as I used to, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. It always made me very anxious though whenever I went into nuclear winter. I hit in a lot of bushes.
I don't really understand why maybe it's hard to maintain. I don't know. I do understand that most people, think about it. Fallout has always been a PvE game. It's never been a PvP game. So of course, most people are going to play PvE. So that's why. That's very simple.
I think True Flat said that not as many people were joining in, and it was harder and harder for them to fill up the lobbies. So it's kind of why they're starting to phase it out now.
And I understand that. And it is a shame because Nuclear Winter was very popular, and it actually was the first thing that revived Fallout 76, if you remember.
Now, I've never done Hunter Hunted. I've never tried it. And Monster Mash, I was never crazy about, but I've done it a few times.
The only reason I don't like it, and you can call me Care Bear if you want to, Mr. Lewis, but games like that I have lupus and fibromyalgia, and it gets me to hurting. Any kind of stress gets me to hurting, which is one reason I can't play Doom and those kind of games for too long. I have to get away from them and go back to So yeah, I'm a Care Bear, I guess you could say. Well, guys, we are at an hour and 1 minute. I cannot believe we've gone this long. Vault Girl, you've made the time fly. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to say one more time, please, 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 if you have not ever subscribed to Vault Girl, please go do that right now. She is an absolute amazing person, has absolute amazing game knowledge, more than I do. So go subscribe to her, and also the wonderful cooking videos as well. You will not be sorry. Also, another thing I'll ask you to do is go down in the description of this video. If you're not joined to our Discord channel, please do that. You can find people to play Fallout 76 with. You can talk Starfield, all kinds of things like that. Also follow me on Twitter. That's where I give most of my news. And to remind you again, I have to look at that. Gold Dragon Gaming. There was my lupus. Gold Dragon Gaming is going to have a podcast directly following this one. So please go over to his channel as soon as I say goodbye, and he's going to have a podcast, and y'all subscribe to him as well. Vault Girl, do you have anything else that you want to say today?
No, just thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being on the King's Cast.
Well, thank you for being here, and it's always a pleasure having you, and I definitely want to have you back sometimes because your knowledge is wonderful. I can always lean on your Fallout lore when I don't know. So thank you for being here, and I want to thank everyone for watching today. Thank you, Tamar, for both of the super chats. Those are beyond welcome, and so good for me and the Queen. I know the Queen appreciates that too. Y'all have a great rest of the weekend. Have a wonderful Saturday night, and if the Lord gives you tomorrow, have a blessed Sunday. Goodbye, y'all. Bye, Vault Girl.
Bye, guys.
And we are